Yashokech Rabbi Cohen, and it's for this tremendous occasion, and to see this the new Sefer in Loshen Amzu in English, and to see Rabbi Mangel is a pleasure, obviously, for all of us. We're looking forward to hearing from him. And the Neshama Rav Wolf, Olav Shalom, Shav and Aliyah, we should be able together with him, L'chaim, L'chaim. With the Emes Aliyah, with Tchias HaMesim, L'chaim. Just to say a few short words. So Rav Wolf, anyone that learned in yeshiva, remembers his Tanya Shiurim. That's obviously Kesher with the Chavdal Teves, Balatanya, Vashulchan Aruch, as the Rebbe would always point out. Shneyer, the Niglas Shabbatera, and Teres Achsidis. I thought I would share something that I came across, which it could be that everybody here knows it already, but somehow I never ran into it. There's a mimer from Tzemach Tzedek that is printed in the Ha'aretz. There's a small sefer they reprinted it in a larger format, and the Rebbe gave it out in later years. There's a mimer there from Tzemach Tzedek. I forget exactly the wording, but the teichen is Lahavin Mashakosov b'Sefer HaTanya shel lo yuvan kol kach mitzad arichas ha'inyan. That the shaylas at the beginning of Tanya, you have Tanya b'Sefer Paragim U'Danida, and you have a few shaylas over there, which says Pirkei Avos, and you have to serve Hashem b'Sefer. You're going to be Be'ein of Kerosha. You're not going to be able to serve Hashem b'Simcha, and if you're not going to let it bother you, then Yochalavel Dekalas Chas V'Shalom. So where are the answers to this question exactly? You have to wait till many, many prakim later, and it's even from Tzemach Tzedek. He's saying that it's not so clear from there either. So it's a very fascinating mimer. It's not a long mimer, but if I understand the mimer correctly, he comes to answer even another question, which is in many eyes of many people, is even a bigger shaila. The Tanya is Sefer Shal Beinanim. So how many Beinanim? The Kodesh Baruch Hu b'tzadikim shem mu'atim. And what about Beinanim? They're not mu'atim. How many Beinanim do you see in the world? A person that never is ever a single moment of their life. Machshava dibra ma'isa. I remember I was once having a conversation with the Psailim. I'm sure you think you have all the big tzaddikim, we have gedalim and this and that. And the name's the name of one of their gedalim. And he says, his entire life, he was only Mavatul Teira for, I forget, it was 13 minutes or 18 minutes. His entire life, he was only Mavatul Teira for 13, 18 minutes. So I said, I hate to break it to you, but somebody is Mavatul Teira for 13, 18 minutes in their life, I'm going to take a look at the first Perek HaTanya and see where he belongs. So the inyan from a Beinani is, I feel Rega Echad Kol Yomav is not Mavatul Teira. How many people do you have like this? So the shaila is, the Sefer HaBeinim is written, Sefer Shal Beinim is written for everybody. Okay, but if you're not a Beinani, okay, you should work to become a Beinani, but if you're not there, so then how exactly does it apply? So the Pashta answer is that it's in order to become a Beinani, and the Aveda, even though you're not yet a Beinani, is the same Aveda for the Beinani. The same Milchama is for every person, whether you're already a Beinani or you're not yet a Beinani. Nevertheless, the same struggle and the same description of what the person has to go through, and the same type of Avedus Hashem is Shayach L'Kolecha V'Echad regarding what level you're holding on. But Tzemach Tzedek brings down over there a very interesting thing. He says that in order for a person to be truly connected with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he has to have constant yira. Constant yira, otherwise you're Ayash. And there's Dinah de Malchus Dinah, Matzad Malchus is in you from Yesh. And then if you feel yourself to be a yesh, so where's your bittul HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So he says, when you learn Torah, when a person learns Torah, whether they feel it or not, they're totally bittul HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The shayla is what's later on. So later on, you're not learning Torah now, so you're doing things l'shem shamayim, chol derechecha de'ehu. You got a chance to do a mitzvah. So, but what about the time when you're not doing a mitzvah, and you're not doing b'chol derechecha de'ehu, and you're not doing what you're supposed to do? So there's a einish for that. So how you supposed to ignore it, and then yochel lava de kalos chas v'sholem. And if you're going to think about it, then you're not going to be serve Hashem b'simcha. So how does it work? So the Tzemach Tzedek says Poshet. He says you have to have both hergeshim. Al derech brings in the Zayir, the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya, that simcha is wedged in one side of my heart, and the atzvus mitzad the nefesh habamis is a totally different thing. Mitzad the nefesh habamis is stuck at trouble. But mitzad the nefesh halakis and mitzad the ability for limrat Torah and kiyum mitzvahs, so then you besimcha rabba. And the tayerkeit from the simcha of limrat Torah and kiyum mitzvahs should totally overpower the other feelings. So therefore, a person is going to be able to avodah Hashem b'simcha v'tuv levav, like the Alter Rebbe says right in the middle of Tanya, but you're not going to lead the kalas because you still have the feeling for the things that are awaiting tikkun. Which the nekudas hadover is to always look at the kedusha and the tara and the tev, not only in other people for sure, but even within yourself. And when you have that feeling, the Tzemach Tzedek, we know the famous Gemara that Acher, and he had all the ancient he had after he passed away. So then it says that it's kedai for him to have all the suffering just to come for Gan Eden. And the tayerkeit from kedusha and closeness to Kodesh Baruch Hu should totally overpower any other negative feelings, although they're still there, and it prevents the person from coming to the kalos. And it's something I think that we saw B'Peil Mamesh Barabol, for they always saw the positive by every person, that regardless of whatever personal things he was going through, that he saw the positive and brought out the positive and had the ashmeichel for everybody, and it should be a good and better for all of us, and to incorporate that into our own lives. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'brocha.
Yashekayach Reb David, we know when two events come together, there must be a tzad hashove, a common link, a common denominator between the two things. Today we mark the Ilula, the Yortzeit of the Alter Rebbe. But simultaneously we also mark now the Yortzeit of Revolve Gringlas. What is tzad hashove, the common link between the two? As we know, the Medici Maggid said, I was considered by my Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov, not only as a Talmud, but as a son. Although the Baal Shem Tov had tremendous, great tzaddikim, Kedoshei Elyon, Reb Michael Zlotchever, and more great tzaddikim, but they were Talmidim. The Yankev Spaloi, great tzaddikim, great neshamas, Baruch HaKodesh, but nevertheless they were only Talmidim. Medici Maggid said, I was considered by my Rebbe not only as a Talmud, as a son. And Zalmenu, that he called the Alter Rebbe Zalmenu, he's considered by me also not only a Talmud, although the Medici Maggid had also tremendous Talmidim, the Baditchever, Nachum Chernobyl, on and on and on, great tzaddikim, they were all considered Talmidim. But he said, Reb Zalmenu, I consider as my own son. As we know, the Alter Rebbe called the Baal Shem Tov by Zayde, many times. If there's a Zayde, there must be a father. Who was the father for the Alter Rebbe? In Ruchnius, in Teire Shalom, Rebbe Rashab says, the Alter Rebbe called the Medici Maggid Ovi, my father. The Friedrich Rebbe had also many Talmidim. 3 Alsadik Talmidim here in Montreal, in Otvatsk, many hundred other ones. In Rostov, many Talmidim. Imoidike Choshev Talmidim. But as the only one Talmud, for all the Talmidim of the Friedrich Rebbe, who he called normally a Talmud. But B'ni, the Wolf Gringlas. can see it in this Sefer, in Akodש or in English. When the Frierdiker Rebbe writes to Reb Wolf, he writes, you can see it in the Sefer, B'ni HaChoshev, my most distinguished son, and I writes him not a letter, and he finishes, Ohavecha, whom I love. You don't find among the hundreds and hundreds of most Choshev Talmidim of the Frierdiker Rebbe, should call him B'ni. Davke, Reb Wolf, the Schus, the Frierdiker Rebbe called him B'ni HaChoshev, my distinguished son. I learned here in Montreal in the yeshiva. I lived here for 10 years. Most of the 10 years, I didn't stay in the dormitory, the pneumonia. I had a private room by Reb Wolf. Many times at night, after the shir from Seder at 10 o'clock, when the Seder in the Shiva ended, I went back to my room, and I went by Reb Wolf in the kitchen, made myself a cup of tea, and a little bit later, Reb Wolf came, and we used to chat, to speak for hours, many times to 2-3 hours in the morning. Let me tell you some of the things which I heard from him directly, which I saw also directly, what I saw. Number one, just little things. After the yeshiva from Otwock escaped from Poland, went through Russia, went to Japan, went to Shanghai in China. Eventually, they got visas to Montreal. So the 10 Bochrim came to Montreal, established the yeshiva, amongst them Reb Wolf, here in the yeshiva. Eventually, after a year, he got a visa to go see the Frierdiker Rebbe in New York. When he came to New York, went to Yechidus, Reb Wolf was a Bala Halacha. He says in Shulchan Aruch, in Alter Shulchan Aruch, big Shulchan Aruch, a very dear friend that you didn't see for a long time, you make a brocha shechion v'kimon v'yon l'zman hazeh. As soon as Reb Wolf entered the room of the Frierdiker Rebbe, he made this brocha. The Frierdiker Rebbe was difficult to speak, as everybody knows. But the Rebbe said loud, Amen. And the Rebbe said to him, the Chazal tell us, it's all Shulchan Aruch, Godel ha'oine, Yosem Amvarech, the one who says Amen, is in bigger, superior, there's a bigger mitzvah, the one who makes the bracha. This is adding what the Gemara says in brachas. When you say at the bracha, you only say Hashem Baruch Ata Hashem Baruch Pri Gofen. By Shakal Nebidvora says only one name. Amen is Gematria Tzadik Aleph, is Gematria Vaya Adne, 2 names of the Eibishter. But anyways, Amen is much greater. And the Gemara adds even more so. When you say Amen, it's just like you yourself will also say the bracha. Not only you recite Amen, but you yourself say the bracha. So Frierdiker Rebbe said to Reb Wolf, just like you said the bracha, besimcha, that you see me, I say that Amen is the same bracha, I'm repeating, same bracha to you, the same simcha. This is one ma'aser, we see the connection, or the have, the chiba between the Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe, and Reb Wolf. After Reb Wolf got married, his wife had complications. Whenever she get pregnant, she had difficulty and complications. Until the doctors told her she mustn't have any more children. Obviously, Reb Wolf wouldn't listen only to the doctors. He came to the Frierdiker Rebbe, asked the Rebbe, this is what the doctor tell him, that she's forbidden, she should not have any more children. What should she do? Usually when the Rebbe gets, this is a complicated shaila in halacha, prurvu, one of the most difficult, when we say the nido and so on and so forth, the most difficult halacha. So usually when our Rebbe, the Friedrich Rebbe, got such a shaylas, the Rebbe would say, go ask a competent Rav, a competent Rav, ask the shayla. Here, when the Rebbe Wolf came to the Rebbe and told him the shayla, the Rebbe said, not go to a Rav, go to a Rav Mufak, but the Rebbe said, I'm going to appoint a Bezdin. I'm going to choose the members, the Chaverim of the Bezdin, and let them pass. And the Rebbe said, whom did the Rebbe choose for the Bezdin? Rabbi said, our Rebbe. I never heard the Rebbe should participate in a diet, a Pesach in the Ionis. The Rebbe said, my union is not a Paskin Shailas. But Friedrich Rebbe asked his son-in-law, our Rebbe, he should be one of the Bezdin which the Rebbe wants to establish. The second Rav whom the Rebbe appointed was the Shmuel Levitin. And the third Rav whom the Rebbe appointed was a well-known big Pesach in New York. He wasn't a Chosid, but he wasn't a Mislaget either. A neutral person, a big one, Rav Henkin. I'm sure you must have heard Rav Henkin. So the Rebbe made this, appointed this Bezdin, and they should paskin, should they listen to the doctors or shouldn't listen. The Psak Din of all these three Rabbonim was, Rebbe Wolf should not listen to the Rabbonim, to the doctors, should continue having children. Eventually, after the Stalkus of Friedrich Rebbe, and our Rebbe assumed the seals of Chabad, and Rebbe Wolf had more children. I remember one Shabbos afternoon, one of the children became very, very, very sick. The child even fainted.